You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the levels of your systems. Now, this isn't to say not to have these big, audacious goals, but understand that to actually achieve them and to be able to implement the work on a daily basis, you have to set up the right systems to be able to reach those goals. Because motivation is emotional and it fluctuates. And what will allow you to keep going on those good days where you feel like you want to get that goal, you don't need the systems because you're going to do the most work. You're going to do everything that you know needs to be done that day. However, on the days where that emotion falls off and goes negative, where you don't feel like doing the work, you no longer see the value of doing that work that day or doing that work for an extended period of time. That's when your motivation is lacking, and that's when you need to have systems in place to have those kind of red lines and guardrails to allow you to do the work that needs to be done that day, and maybe even have you keep pushing for a week or a month. The month of January, I was at a very high motivation level of there's a lot to do, there's a lot I know I can get done, and there's a lot of feedback loops with the development of property deals. Now, in the past week, I've been at a lower motivation, but I've still been able to do all the work required to keep us going and to keep the deployment and the development where it is, because I know that I have these systems in place that are holding me accountable, whether or not it's because I have a business partner or for myself, and having these sheets that I fill out at the end of the day, or like literally like just how many hours I put in, hours of active work. And I define an off day as anything less than 6 hours of work. So I try to have a 7 day a week of work, and if I don't hit 6 hours on any given day, that's like an off day. And I'm trying to keep a streak of not having an off day, so that whenever I do travel and when I do actually have time where I actually don't work those days, they're more enjoyable, let's say. But at the same time, I have systems in place that allow me to wake up that day, know exactly what needs to be done, and go through it properly and systematically. Because when I don't have those in place, I find myself often wasting valuable hours of what could be active work in trying to put those systems in place. And if you're doing that on a daily basis, you're cutting out hours and hours of valuable time that you could be spending towards active work, when in another world, you've already set up these systems in place so that on a daily basis, all you have to do is boom, know what you need to do, actually do it. Just another example, when we were wholesaling real estate and we were like actively doing it, there was a huge shift in the time between, it was actually when we went to Arizona, the Arizona conference in February of 2025 last year. And there was a huge shift because what we learned there, aside from the networking and all that, was the systems and how to do it and how to go about it on a daily basis. Before that, it was very unorganized. We had some tools that helped us stay organized, but it was kind of all over the place. We didn't have our roles set. We didn't know kind of like what we were doing. We did, but it was very hectic. Once we got back, we set up systems. It took us a few days. And then every single day from then on until we moved on to property deals, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I called, it was like 6 hours a day on acquisitions, 5 or 6 days a week, forever until we stopped. And that was only possible because we had those systems in place. I knew who I needed to call that were new leads that day. I knew who I needed to follow up with that day. I knew who I needed to nurture that day. And I knew at what stage each of these leads were at, so that I could get on the phone, talk to them. Some of them were a 5-minute call. All right, let's talk again tomorrow. And some of them were like an hour, hour and a half. There was one that was even like 2.5 hours. That was a long one. Maybe I'll tell the story about that one day. But there was a huge difference between before and after we put those systems in place. Similarly here with property deals, it's the same thing, both on the product development side as well as the outreach side. We've just started putting in the outreach systems in place, and hopefully that will convert into higher numbers and easier work, or simpler work, more simple, not easier. With that being said, I hope I conveyed the importance of systemizing work, because it truly does save It's truly a lifesaver, and it saves hours and hours of valuable time that you could be spending towards succeeding and towards getting what you want and the reason for your initial motivation. Because without motivation, you're not going to feel like doing it. But if you have something that you know you need to get done that day, even on like your laziest day, you'll be like, okay, let me at least just get this done, and then I'm done for good for today. And you just do that on a daily basis. Now, there's something I was going to add. Don't remember it anyways. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Just keep setting big, audacious goals, but make sure you have the systems to follow through and achieve them. That's all I got for you guys today. Peace.